Good afternoon, Tony Dattino, doing my Live with Tony as we're moving towards the end of the year 2023. And I had the pleasure of being asked to do a review of a book that will be published next year, which I think is going to be a very successful book. It's titled Choices. And as I got the privilege of being able to review the manuscript of it, it just brought so many lessons forward that I've been working at for the last 30 years that have major impacts on our thinking, our creativity, on our focus, and how we live our lives. So I'll give you an example of it. One of the things in the book is the woman is going through some difficult times, and we all have difficult times. That was the thing. It's like, oh my goodness, this poor woman, she's going through a divorce, and she's got a 3-year-old, and she's got challenges in her job, and I'm like, gee, who doesn't? I mean, it's like going through relationship challenges and having to deal with different challenges that we face in our lives, and then having children in the family that have to then mix and do whatever. And then worried about our livelihoods and what are we going to do, and Jesus, how do we put the right focus? And so the first thing it got me thinking about is one of the things we teach is the unlimited potential of the human mind. And we have the biology of brain cells and neurons and axons and how they all connect and basically translate into an infinite amount of creativity and infinite amount of retention in terms of storage and memory. And I see that in the USA Memory Championship. People that come to compete for who's got the best US memory in the United States, and you see the amazing feats that they're able to achieve, in many cases, that feats that they never thought possible. So here the author writes to the possibilities that this woman has got in front of her if she just puts the right synergy of thinking into play, which then brought me to something I teach called garbage in, garbage grows, or good in, good grows, and greatness in, and greatness will grow. And so with this unlimited potential we have for possibility, given the right synergy of thought, we have two choices. We can work on garbage, and therefore we can build what I call garbage dumps in our head, and therefore we become capable of doing nothing good. Or we can flip that to, well, let's think about starting to think about the good synergy of thought and the good experiences we've had in our life, the positive things that come to play, and let's just think about good things that we can input into our thinking, which then add to this infinite brain of possibility. So if we can only make that shift into not worrying about, the problems and the challenges, which we're all going to have, but now that we got this mental capacity to deal with those problems, to deal with those challenges, and therefore we have the ability to overcome, given the right synergy, gig, as I call it, the thought of this unlimited brain with these amazing possibilities. We have two choices. We can go into the garbage dump with them, or we can think about what are our characteristic skills that we have, what are the basic ingredients that we've accomplished in our lives, and give ourselves a pat on the back and say, I'm going to apply these things to some of these challenges in my life. And you hear the phrase, let's make lemonade from lemons, and I do enjoy lemonade. So for me, taking lemons and making lemonade is one of the challenges we all face. And so this woman's problems of her job and her child and her divorce and relationships bring us to the next stage in terms of life. So what are the conversations we have in our relationships? And where do we take conversations we have and have transparency in those so we know what's going on in relationships? And we can deal with those challenges in the relationship, and rather than run for the door and just quickly divert and depart, what can we do with this possibility, with this positive energy of thought to make a relationship better? And how do we build on that relationship rather than immediately say, well, you know what, this ain't working real easily, and gee, this isn't like a bowl of cherries, and therefore let's just bust it up. And heck with a child that may be, or children that may be faced in the relationship. So there's just a whole number of unlimited thoughts as I'm going through this book, and it's just got me thinking about the possibilities of how many different possibilities can we have with our life experiences and relationships, the people we meet. Are we getting out of our domains? Are we at our comfort zones? And are we getting out to meet different people? And are we avoiding getting stuck in ruts with people that we feel most comfortable with? Or are we willing to explore opportunities, but then have the antennae out and saying, who are the people I can trust that have my well-being truly at heart? And so this is what life is about. As you meet people, can I believe this person? Can I trust this person? Can I trust this politician? Can I trust what this person's promising me? Who do I believe, and who's going to help me get to some place where I feel very comfortable in getting to? And so as you go through relationships, that's constantly at play. And as the author writes down through the book, I mean, I got relationships are throughout, mom and dad, and the baby, and even the service dog that she's got, and then a couple of people that she meets along the way, constantly putting in front of the reader, what are some of these relationships, and which ones should you hold on to, and which ones should you cherish and build this synergy that I'm talking about, this infinite possibility of what can be just given the people that the key character in the story gets to write. And I'm just thinking about that, and I'm saying, my goodness, so she's meeting all these different people. Well, one of the things we teach is teamwork and relationships and interpersonal intelligence. And how do you call that all out? And again, it's like the author just does a superb job of putting things in front of the reader that you're confronted with just about every week. And I might even say every day, but let's go to every week. And how might this woman that's in this book deal with some of these things? And as much as the book is a fictional characterization of things, it is so real to everyday life. And so you keep reading this book, and it's like, God, I kept reading it, it's like, where's it going next? Where's it going next? And then another obstacle comes up, and you say, yep, got it. You know what? Things you think you get things straightened out, you're on the right road, and an obstacle comes up again. And so you've got this synergy, and then the point that comes to mind, that kind of pulls it all together, is something I teach called TEFCAS, trial, event, checks, and success. Trial, event, feedback, checks, adjust, success. All focused on the S. What is our focus? Our focus on what the outcomes are that we want to achieve. And can we clearly define what our S is that we want in life, and put our thinking and our creativity and our intuition focused towards it in a way that lets this possibility, this infinite possibility that we have, explore avenues that we may never have thought of before. Unless faced with a crisis, or unless faced with, you feel like you're cornered and you got to get your way out of the corner, and therefore you got to do something. And it may be totally different, something you may not, you know what, I don't give a rip anymore. I'm just not going to get stuck into this corner. I got to get out of it. And so I start looking at exploring other options out of desperation. And then, of course, if you're in a job that you feel like you're in a rut, I'm not telling people to jump out of a job that they feel like they're in a rut until they explore and look at what their other possibilities and or options may be. And so I think the author has just done a magnificent job at really pulling together everyday principles and values and thoughts that people are faced with in a very quick reading, fascinating story of this woman and her 3-year-old and her service dog and her mom and dad and people that she meets, into very pragmatic examples that fit everyday life. So I really enjoyed, it's interesting, because it was an easy, and I say easy read, it was a very thoughtful read, and yet very well laid out, so it was very continuous, and you just couldn't wait to hear what the dog was going to be thinking and talking about, some of the perspective from the dog, the service dog, and then the perspective of the main character, and how that just kept coming together. That once I started reading, it's like, until I had to get out somewhere else or I had something else to do, I wanted to read this book all in like, how fast can I read this whole book and get the tips and the points from it, the values delivered from it, as well as applying it to my own family. God knows, I'm reading it, I'm thinking, yep, this one goes to this one in the family, that one can go, this page should go to that person, and I'm just reading in this book and thinking of all these different people that need to read this page or this chapter or this section or this quote, and so I really enjoyed it, and I really want to thank the author for giving me the opportunity to read it. And the book is called Choices, Choices, and I think she's going to have a good book on her hands if she gets the right people putting it into the right hands. I think the book has got lots of valuable tips for everyday life. That's my Live with Tony for today, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday.